It's obvious that this current administration is not worried about real health issues, real health crises facing the American people. But all of a sudden, they're worried about your nicotine intake. Let's not talk about fentanyl. The Biden regime's coming after your menthol and your e-cigarettes, all while they refuse to address the massive drug fentanyl crisis on the streets of America. Why aren't they releasing the death count on fentanyl? Why aren't they creating a task force for that? But now the FDA, Biden's FDA is banning, if you smoke these, they're called Juuls, the Juul vape from all U.S. sales market. That's it, done. That e-cigarette, pull it. Also, any tobacco or cigarettes with the menthol flavoring, done, gone, get rid of them. Now, with this move against menthol and e-cigarettes, many critics, like this guy, are slamming the Biden regime because you're so worried about menthol and e-cigs. Yet if you recall, the Biden regime rolled out a $30 million plan a few months back, remember this one? To provide safe smoking kits that included a pipe so you could smoke crack. There's the stuff that was inside their kit that you and I paid for at the federal level. While all this is happening, radical health experts are encouraging drug users to use drugs, but safely. Look at this. This was early May. New York City's health department put up billboard ads on bus stops around the city. Look at this. It's encouraging drug users. One of the ads said, "Let's talk fentanyl campaign." You can see it right there. Don't be ashamed you're using. Be empowered that you're using safely. Are you kidding me? This is what we're telling people. It's okay you're using drugs. It's okay you're using fentanyl, crack, heroin. Just do it safely. Let's be real, folks. The biggest, deadliest health crisis facing our nation right now, 18 to 45-year-olds, number one killer, 77% of all deaths from 12 to 17 is fentanyl. Sheriffs at the border are warning about this. I mean, come on. Look at this. It is a surge. We've had, I don't know how many guests on this program to talk about it. Derek Maltz is the former director of the DEA's Special Operations Division. I want to welcome Derek back to the program to talk about this. Talk about having your priorities so far out of whack. I mean, we know Joe's lost it, but Derek, let's go after Juul e-cigs because they're bad for teens, according to Biden, and menthol cigarettes, but not address fentanyl. Let's promote healthy, illegal drug use. Have they lost their damn minds, Derek?
Absolutely, Dan, and thank you for having me again. I mean, obviously, there's no sense of prioritization at all. We have this worst ever in the history of the country, national security, public safety, health crisis, fentanyl killing at record levels like you covered. But it seems to me pretty obvious that if you're losing 295 Americans a day to deadly drugs, every 5 minutes somebody's dying, that you would want to do something about it. I mean, look, Biden has said this is an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security, but then he leaves the border wide open. The border czar doesn't go down to deal with the issue. She doesn't even go to the border. She doesn't talk about it. Just this week alone, 5 overdoses in Grand Rapids, Michigan, 1 dead, 4 overdoses. Will County, Illinois coroner, like 2 weeks ago, there were 10 dead on one 24-hour period in Will County, and then there were 3 dead later in the week, and I think they're up to 16 dead. This is nothing we've ever seen in the history of the country, Dan. I mean, in Montana, the tribal leaders are declaring a state of emergency, and they're selling those pills for $120 a pill on the reservations. Wow. So that should be, but then the positive news, if you want to talk positive,
sure.
Lauren Boebert and Tim Ryan, finally, bipartisan decision to put forth a resolution to make fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction.
Yes, she was on last night. Derek, Lauren was on last night and pitched that proposal. I hope to God members of the House and Senate see that it's a bipartisan bill, see the 6 figures of death here, 100 and some thousand folks, heard what Derek said. This is the number one killer. And it's pretty much, well, I'm 40, almost 8, so I'm almost in the age bracket, but 18 to 45, it is the number one killer. And then as I said, we talked about with Lauren last night, Derek, 77% of all the deaths in preteens up to 18. That's the cause of death, fentanyl. So my big question is, why in the hell are we not seeing more of this? Why is the press, are they scared to cover it? You just gave me stories that I had not seen. 10 dead in one town, all that going down in Grand Rapids, in Illinois, all these states. Why isn't it all over national media?
What about in California, right? The sheriff in Orange County has put out public statements and memos to show a 2,200% increase in fentanyl deaths in the last 5 years. And what about in his county, 1,700%? The statistics across the entire country are staggering, but there's no conversation. And that's what's pissing off the families, because they don't understand why there's no conversation. There's no sense of urgency. And it's all this other stuff that gets the priorities. Yeah.
And folks, we're not talking about crack, heroin, cocaine. We're not talking about illegal drugs. We're talking about pills. These are illegal because they're coming in from Mexico, but people are also abusing the ones that they get from their doctors in prescription. Those might be laced with fentanyl, but they still can harm themselves or kill themselves if they take too many Vicodin or Xanax or, hydrocodone. I mean, this is what's happening. And you've got suburban housewives, the teenage kids pull them out of the medicine cabinet, and then God forbid, like you always tell us, Derek, they find them on TikTok and the different apps. Those are the illegal ones that their buddies are selling them that they got from a drug dealer who gets it from the cartel. And I think last time you were on, Derek, what is it up to now? 36% of every pill coming across has enough fentanyl to kill you?
40% of the pills analyzed by the DEA lab has a potentially lethal dose of fentanyl. And by the way, I missed El Paso with 9 overdoses and 9 overdoses the other day in St. Paul, Minnesota. So it's all over the place. Like every day I track this on all the news stories in America, and it's being published in the local newspapers.
Right, locals cover it, but no national.
Right.
That's the problem.
It's not being put together. Right?
Yeah, because the national media is covering for Biden's ass. That's all I can figure out is they're covering for this regime. Derek, you keep fighting. You keep the word out there. I'll do the same. We're going to warn Americans. Watch out for this deadly killer. It is the #1 killer, folks. Fentanyl. Derek Maltz, former director over at the DEA of their Special Operations Division, he would know. And let me tell you, take this seriously, folks. This is no light matter. Derek, have a good weekend. Take care, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.